Welcome back to the Knock-On Effect, the rugby show where we say what the pundits won't. So the Lions have just rather unconvincingly beaten the First Nations Pacifica, but the scoreboard doesn't tell us everything. In today's video, we're going to give our thoughts on the match and answer the question, has anyone just broken into the team for the second test? Let's get stuck in. For the neutrals, this was actually a really entertaining match. Plenty of back and forth, and the FNP deserve a serious clap on the back for keeping things as tight as they were. For the Lions and Andy Farrell though, they'll be pretty disappointed. On paper, there's no reason on God's green earth as to why they shouldn't have won by a landslide. Ill discipline crept in, and not for the first time this tour, and the Lions did a poor job of killing the game off. All that being said, there was some standout moments and performances that we're going to cover. But first, if you've been enjoying the videos, please do make sure to subscribe. It honestly goes a massive way in us creating more of this kind of unfiltered rugby content. Back to it. In the front row, we know who our main contenders are for the tests, and none of the boys from today did anywhere near good enough to shake things up. Finlay Bealham in particular had an off night. The scrum looked the worst it has all tour, and this is a match that the prop club are going to want to forget. The second row is where things get a little bit more interesting. James Ryan saw a yellow in the first half, which really cost the Lions in terms of momentum. He was average around the park, so let's move him to one side. I thought head and shoulders the best player on the pitch was Scott Cummings. He was one of the few Lions who really understood the mission of the day. Play with enough intensity that it really shows the coaching panel that you deserve to be included. He was a nuisance at the breakdown and really showed his class in the line out. He's one player that really stood up today. So let's move him to the other side. In the back row, Flier put in a great shift. Plenty of carries, tackles and breaks. A lot of what we've come to expect by him. He was unlucky to have a try called back, but did he do enough? For the moment, we'll put him in the same bracket as Cummings. Jac Morgan next. Honestly, I was a bit disappointed with him, I won't lie. There was plenty of criticism for Tom Curry's inclusion last week, but he played a blinder. This was Morgan's chance to show Farrell that he got it wrong. He didn't take it. As for Henry Pollock at 8, there's two things to discuss. First, he played well. I've been a big fan of him this tour. Couple of poaches, some good carries, etc. It wasn't his most prolific performance, but solid nonetheless. Second, we need to talk about his discipline. That moment where he grabbed the FNP 6 by the scrum cap and they got into some handbags, I hate that kind of shit. It's needless, it's borderline dirty, and it adds nothing to his game. I'd argue it takes away from it. Andy Farrell has consistently chosen experienced, level-headed and intelligent players for Ireland over the years. The last thing he'd want is to bring Pollock off the bench just for him to cough up a stupid penalty for something like that. Hopefully it's something he learns from, but it's a real shame. I think he's ruled himself out of the conversation with that one. Ben White at 9 was really impressive. He zipped passes out to Finn Smith for the 80 minutes with fantastic accuracy. His box kicking was even better, even with a 50-22 in the early stages of the second half. He's in the same boat as Cummings and Flier for me. Finn Smith at 10, he didn't do a whole lot to suggest Farrell got things wrong. A solid game, but for me, he's not at the standard yet for the first team. Owen Farrell captained the Lions today and he did a great job. He's such a level head with ball in hand and always makes the right decision. Now I'm going to contradict myself here for a second. Darcy Graham took a high shot early on and the Lions kind of got up and sheepishly walked away while the FNP players were high-fiving. Farrell was straight in with the handbags and I fucking love it. The difference between that moment and Pollock's was it was all about momentum. It was about the psychological factor. Don't let your opposition bully you. It's something that the likes of Peter O'Mahony or Alan Wynne-Jones would have done. And in part, we've been missing that this tour. For me, and that moment alone, not to mind his many excellent runs, offloads and kicks, I'll throw him in the good pile. Outside of Farrell was debutant Jamie Osborne. I was really impressed with him. I was worried he'd be a bit out of his depth heading into this one, but 2 tries on the night and he looked like he belonged. He had a couple of off moments, particularly under the high ball, which I think is enough to stop a hype train of Leinster fans screaming that he needs to start on Saturday, but it was a performance he should be proud of nonetheless. I don't think it gets him in the team right now, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially because of his versatility, to see him included at a later test. On the wings were Van der Merwe and Darcy Graham. My heart goes out to Graham. Many called for his inclusion in the squad and it looked like he was proving the masses right and Andy Farrell wrong. He had an early try called back, but it wasn't long before he crossed the try line again. He was everywhere the first couple of minutes on the pitch, and then around the 20-minute mark he went off with an ankle injury. Such a shame. We need reinforcements at the back 3 and dare I say it, it looked like he was playing his way into the squad. Fingers crossed the injury isn't too bad and we'll see him in a Lions jersey again before the tour is out. As for Van der Merwe, he's a physical winger, isn't he? Loves running into contact and taking defenders on. He didn't make much ground today though, and while he was good in the air, it wasn't enough to warrant a start in my opinion. When Graham went off, Ringrose came on, so we'll cover him now. A decent shift in his return from injury, a tad rusty, but good showing nonetheless with plenty of carries, breaks and offloads, and he combined really well with Farrell in the middle of the park. The headache comes with his amount of minutes. Andy Farrell wouldn't have wanted to have played him for 60 odd minutes today, as many reckoned he was in the running for Saturday. We'll throw him in the good pile for the moment though and we'll move on. Lastly, Blair Kinghorn, a mixed bag on his return from injury. He attacked the line at pace, constantly looked threatening in attack and was great under the high ball. However, he threw 1 intercepted pass for a try in the first half and almost doubled down at the brink of half time if not for Van der Merwe. He'll go in the good pile, but just about. Which brings us to the question, has anyone broken into the team for the second test? Yes. With Joe McCarthy nursing a foot injury, why risk him? Itoje will remain at 4, but who will partner him at 5? Between Tyg Byrne, Ollie Chesham and Scott Cummings, take your pick. One will partner Itoje, another at 6 and the last on the bench. For me, I think between his performance today and man of the match a couple of weeks ago, I'd love to see Scott Cummings start, but realistically I think it's too quick a turnaround to get him on the pitch starting on Saturday. I think Farrell will likely go with Chesham and Byrne starting and Cummings coming off the bench, but that's still a massive win for the Scotsman. Now what do we do at open side? Does Van der Flier deserve a start? I don't think he did enough to warrant leapfrogging Curry, but Ben Earl hasn't been fantastic coming off the bench in the last few games, and I could really see Van der Flier making the bench. He offers so much in terms of intensity, and I think we really missed that the last day against Australia. Ben White, I prefer him to Alex Mitchell. He's been fantastic since he's come into the squad, but therein lies the problem. I don't see Andy Farrell making too many changes, and Mitchell hasn't been bad off the bench either. I think had Ben White been included from the get-go, there'd be a serious push for him, but not for me. Which leaves us with Owen Farrell and Blair Kinghorn. Why have I partnered them together? It comes down to bench options. Last week we saw Marcus Smith and Bundy Aki on the bench. They covered 10, 12, 13 and 15. Owen Farrell and Blair Kinghorn would cover 10, 12, 13, 14 and 15. They both played well enough and I don't think that Ringrose is even going to get into the 23 given the amount of minutes he played today. I'm going out on the limb and I'm saying we're going to see either Aki and Hugh Jones or Aki and Tui Pilatu start with Farrell and Kinghorn as the bench cover. What do you guys think? Did we get it right? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, cheers for watching. Catch you at the next one.